I want to take a step back. We talk a lot about Rav Noach Weinberg, our founder. I'd like to talk for a moment about the original Noach, the Noach that built the ark in the Chumash, in the Bible. And we learn that his generation, when God decided to cast a flood upon the world, that the sins that they committed were against each other. They stole from each other, they killed each other. It was really horrendous. As a result, God flooded the world and decided to start over with Noah and his family. But that wasn't the only issue that came up in that Torah portion. At the end of that Torah portion, it tells a story of the Tower of Babel, Migdal Bavel, that there were people that got together to build a great tower to attack God. And when you read the story, you find something very interesting. That group of people had learned the lesson from the generation of the flood. And they had united, they had come together. But it ended in disaster when they attacked God. And the question that we have to ask is, unity is always supposed to be such a great thing. All day long we talk about Achdus, unity, coming together for the Jewish people. How could it have ended in such disaster? So this past summer, my wife runs a Camp Dina for girls. A lot of times I catch up on my reading during that time. And I ordered a couple different books. And when we received the package, my son Ari, he took a look at what was inside, and he said that we are now on every NSA watch list in America. I actually confirmed that with a politician friend of mine. He said we probably were. And what I ordered was 2 books that I read. And I'll explain why I ordered these 2 books. The first one was The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. People talk about it all the time, but very few, as I have learned, have read it. And the second one was a horrific book called Mein Kampf, which was the only book that Hitler wrote. And the reason I ordered these books and I wanted to read them was because these 2 books were responsible for the destruction of millions of lives. Literally millions of people around the globe, and many, many Jews were physically killed and spiritually wiped out as a result of just 2 books. And when I read these books, although different in style, they were common in one way. They both were filled with hate. They built a movement that was all about hating people. And anytime a movement is built on hate, it will ultimately be doomed, but it will take a lot of people along the way. And I realized that this is what was going on in Migdal Bavel, the Tower of Babel. Yes, they were united, but they were united in a cause to go up against God. And it ultimately failed. And then onto the scene comes Abraham. Abraham understands what went wrong with the generation of the flood, how they attacked each other. He understands what happened with the Tower of Babel, how they came together to be destructive. And he decides that he is going to do things differently. And he starts the Jewish people built on a unifying force of love. People coming together to celebrate God. People coming together to do good things. And that was the basis for the Jewish people. We come together to be successful and to love each other and to grow and to build. And Abraham hands over this treasure, this ideology, to his son Isaac. Isaac marries Rebekah, and they have twin children that we read about today in the Torah portion. They give birth to Jacob and to Esau. One very good son and one son who was extremely challenged and became very wicked. And as many of us are familiar with the story, Isaac seems to have a very soft spot in his heart for Esau, even though Esau is a terrible human being. And it gets to the point where Isaac is about to give the blessings of our tradition to Esau, seemingly the wrong son. And there's a complicated story where Rebekah realizes that Jacob should be the one to receive the tradition of Jewry. And they come up with a scheme to trick Isaac, who was blind at the time, to make sure that the right person, that Jacob, our forefather, that he gets the blessings. And the question arises, did Isaac not know who his sons were? Did he really not know who Jacob was and who Esau was? What was going on? What was he trying to do? What was he trying to show? What was he trying to demonstrate? And I think that Isaac was trying to show Jacob two lessons. The first lesson was that when something is important, you must fight for it. To just receive the blessings because you're a good person, get the blessings, they just don't mean as much. But to see that you can almost lose those blessings, that tradition, that it's almost gone into the wrong hands, and you have to rally, and you have to fight. That's what the Jewish people are all about. We are here in this room because we have spent 2,000 years fighting in almost every country in the world. I'll tell you, I had one of the greatest experiences of my life a couple days ago, where there's a website, the Middle East Monitor, the article here. You could Google it. Just Google Steve Burg, horrible human being. And Sukkot, we were in Israel and Yerushalayim, and we have an app where you can see the Temple Mount, and it will show you what the temple looked like on that mount, while showing you the rest in real time. And I tweeted out a picture, and I wrote, "One day soon." And they wrote a whole article about how I was advocating for the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So I tweeted it out another 10 times. Because we're Jews and that's what we do. We fight. We fight for what's right. And Aish Torah, which sits there, will be there forever. The second lesson that I believe that Isaac wanted to give Jacob, that Yitzchak gave Yaakov, the second lesson, was indeed Isaac was ready to give the blessings to Esau, if only he had repented. If Esau had only given up that life of a murderer and a thief, if only he was able to turn himself around, yes, Isaac was ready to give him those blessings. Because as Jews, we believe every single Jew can come back. There is no such thing as a Jew not being able to rejoin our people. There is no such thing as a Jew not being able to come close to God. So even though Esau is a horrible human being, Isaac held out hope to the last second. And that was a lesson for Jacob. You must fight for what's right, and you must know that every Jew is precious. And we need to always hope and pray that they can come back to us. And I believe that this is what Aish Torah is all about. That as an organization or as a movement, as Rabbi Lau said, we will fight to the end for every single right that we deserve as Jews. And we also know that we will never leave a Jew behind. Doesn't matter where they are, as beautifully as Rabbi Goldstein said today, even in Pakistan, we will seek them out and bring them into our community. When I started Aish Torah, I found a strategic plan. It was a gathering of many, many people from all around the world. And I read it, and it was very long, very detailed. But I basically found that our community of Aish Torah was looking for three things. They were looking for unity, functionality, and growth. And in my first email, the week before I started, I wrote that those would be my three goals 2.5 years ago. Unity. I have spent so much time on the road visiting with all the branches. And over the years, especially since our Rabbi passed away, we all floated apart. And we have spent the last 2.5 years of coming back together. Whether it be in South Africa, Australia, England, Latin America, North America, Israel, we've once again come back together. And that's why we're so strong. Functionality, we have spent a lot of time making sure that we can do the things that we want to do. We went from having one event on a Friday night in our building, in the Dan Family World Center. We could do 7 or 8 functions on a Friday night. Birthrights, JWRP, everyone is coming to us. We have taken the organization to a new level. But I want to talk for a moment tonight about growth. How are we going to grow our movement? How are we going to grow our organization? The first point I want to make is that we have a very simple goal in Aish Torah. Every single Jew in the world must have the ability to learn Torah, bar none. Every single Jew in the world must be given the opportunity to learn Torah. So we have one of the most beautiful yeshivas. You heard from Rabbi Rossman. I'm proud to say that in 2.5 years, our attendance was a little bit down the yeshiva under Rabbi Rossman's leadership and Rabbi Berkowitz's leadership. We now have tables out in the lobby. We don't know what we're going to do next year because we are so full. Aish.com, under the leadership of Nehemiah Coopersmith and Jack Kalla, has done a great job of moving into online classes, increasing our social media, and getting Torah out there to the masses all around the world. All the branches, all of us have celebrated with JWRP, which has done such a terrific job of giving people their first experience to come to Israel. And I want to thank the Maybergs, who really started JWRP and did an amazing job at bringing thousands of Jews to visit Israel. And what we're going to do now is embark on what we call level 2 trips. We call it Aish Destiny, and Rabbi Jamie Callan is working hard. We're starting in May, June, to make sure that Jews that have tasted Israel can now come back and spend significant time studying Torah in our building. Our rabbinical program, which we revitalized a year and a half ago, is on track to produce 15 rabbis a year. 15 rabbis a year that will go out around the globe and change the face of the Jewish nation. Women's learning has become a priority to us, and we recently brought on board Alana Cowlin, who's here with us, to make sure that women's learning programs are a priority for Aish Torah. And of course, as you saw, Rabbi Cantor, the GPS program, which is going to make learning Torah easier for all. The branches. For me, this is a very emotional topic because I view the men and women of the branches, the professionals, the leaders, the volunteers, they're the folks that are in the trenches. They are the people that every single day are out there reaching out to Jew after Jew after Jew after Jew. We will be there for all of you. Every branch, we will be there for you. We will be your home in Jerusalem. We will come to your home. There's nothing we won't do for you. Just as Mayor Rosenberg has taken over and built up Latin America, I can't tell you how many people have come to us from around the world and said that they want to join, they want more branches. You will see year after year after year more and more branches, more and more opportunities, more and more growth of Aish Torah, because we are a significant, important movement. But we are not a movement of Aish Torah, we are a movement of the Jewish people. This is Judaism. Aish Torah is that flame, is that fire to reach everyone around the world. And as we call this the Partners Conference, is because everyone in this room is our partner. And we talk about Project Inspire under Rabbi Samson's leadership, which has done great, great things in reaching out to Jews and telling them to reach out to Jews. I'm telling everyone in this room, it doesn't matter if you are fully Orthodox, you're not Orthodox, you think you're the greatest Jew in the world, or you think you're the worst Jew in the world. You have what to give. And you have to give it. Because for everybody in this room, there are thousands of Jews who don't know anything about their heritage. We have to find them, we have to connect them, we can't be embarrassed. We can't sit there, and so many people, I've had so many conversations this weekend where people said, this is great for me, but I don't know if I could bring my friends here. You have to bring your friends here. You have to bring your friends into your home. You have to bring your friends into the world of Torah. You have to go to the workplace and meet Jews and say, please, brother, sister, join me. Because that's what God wants from us. It's not complicated to be a Jew. It's about getting close to God. And He gave us the tool, and the tool is Torah. And we have to be there for our brothers and sisters around the world. I want to close with a story from this past week. I went to the dinner of the Aish Center, which is one of our branches that reaches out in Manhattan. They do a lot of executive learning with CEOs of big companies. And a fellow by the name of Jason got up and he talked about how he learns with his rabbi, and he kept joking about the fact that he literally has no time. He's working around the clock. But he somehow made time to learn with this rabbi, and he said that his wife has said that whenever he spends time learning that week, he's a better husband, which was moving. And I thought about when I heard this story, and I want to tell you something about me personally, which I don't think I've ever shared. I think most of you in this room are aware of my schedule, which takes me to a lot of different places, a lot of phone calls around the clock. I think it would take me a good 6 to 9 months being in one time zone to kind of finally get my body clock back on one time zone. And when I started to work for the OU, I moved to Manhattan. And I worked in downtown. And a friend of mine had worked in finance. And we were close. And he sent me an email, I think it was 3:34 in the morning. And I called him the next day. I said, what was up with that? He said, we had a deal. It was closing, merger, whatever it was. I said, so you were up 3:34 in the morning? He said, no, I was up later. Because when it's important, you put in the hours, you put in the work. And that's when I decided that if folks could do that in order to be successful in business, I could do that in order to serve God. And I want to close by telling all of you in this room that I know that you're thinking right now, I don't know if I can reach out to the people next to me. I don't know if I have time. I don't know if my friends will really buy into Judaism the way I do. And I'm telling you that there is a brotherhood in this room, there is a sisterhood in this room of Jews that care about God, Jews that care about each other. You can do it. And I'll take it a step further. We can't do it without you. I'd like to just give you all a blessing that you leave here, but before you leave, you take it upon yourself to figure out how you're going to reach out to your brothers and sisters. Because Aish Torah is only as strong as each and every one of you. Thank you.